Mr. Metivier was 105 years old when he died. I think that was his fine old age. I heard about it on the news, and it made me sit down and try not to cry. Linda, this is Mr. Metivier. I am wondering when my story is going to be told. I had fallen in love with Mr. Metivier at some point during the afternoon that we spent with him. It was Ottawa, deep summer, and the heat was thick. I think it was 2003. I had fallen in love with his kindness and his wit, his wisdom and his deep intelligence. I had fallen in love with him when he took such care telling us his stories. He had a lot of them, given that he was 103 years old and he had been in the First World War. I had fallen in love with his careful French accent. Linda, this is Mr. Metivier. Paul Metivier? Can you tell me, please, when will you tell my story? I fell in love with him when he told us about learning to play the piano in the early years of the 20th century. After a few lessons, he had decided he would teach himself to play because it was, he said, ridiculous to pay someone to rap your knuckles if you played something wrong. He never had a formal lesson after that. In his room, there was a sheaf of papers on his keyboard, song titles and lyrics written in bold black letters. He was mostly blind, he explained, but he could still make out some of the words, although he knew most of them by heart. I had noticed "You Are My Sunshine" on the pile, and I told him that it was one of my favorite songs because it was one of the two songs that my dad would sing on long car rides when he was in a good mood. Linda, it is Paul Metivier. I am wondering when, Linda, when will my story be told? The next day, Mr. Metivier invited us back for lunch. I was over the moon. His daughter Monique joined us, and her stories filled in some of the gaps in her father's tales. After lunch, on the way back to his room, Mr. Metivier stopped in the foyer and pointed towards a piano that was there. Linda, I have something for you, he said, and I followed him to the piano. He sat down, and without hesitation, he began to play. You Are My Sunshine, right to the end, without a pause. I fell in love with him then, again. Linda, it is Mr. Metivier. Mr. Paul Metivier. My story? I was just calling to find out if it was going to be told soon. I am wondering, Linda, when my story is going to be told. It is Mr. Metivier here. I fell in love with him again, then.